Hi, this is video reflection for January, I think it's 16th. No, it's January 17th, Saturday. Well, firstly, my day started at 12:41 because I slept in on purpose. Could I not have woken up? No, of course I could. And I did. I woke up at 7:35 with my holy, yes, I woke up holy. And yet, I just went back to sleep because why not? And also, resting the mind is important, but resting the body, I think that goes without saying. I'm also filming this in my room right now because it's like 2, and I'm pretty sure the guys on the other side are sleeping, so I didn't want to be too loud in the bathroom. A couple things to mention today. Firstly, 15 was bugging me for a while. KYPT, problem number 15. So what that problem is basically about is it asks you to identify interesting phenomena in a magnetic Newton's cradle. Now, most of the other kids, I believe, are defining that as a wave occurring in the Newton's cradle, or in the magnetic Newton's cradle. But I want to focus more on the qualitative and visible effect that's exhibited in the system. And so I did a couple of simple experiments, with different displacements, different starting positions, different lengths, different arm lengths, pendulum arm lengths, and I found that if you move one arm and then release it, then it, in a normal Newton's cradle, one side would come down, strike the balls, and then the other ball, and then one ball from the opposite side would move up again, right? Because of conservation of momentum. And so effectively, you would only really have one side moving at a time. The first interesting thing, and really the obvious difference with the magnetic cradle, is that multiple parts are moving at the same time because magnets don't need to collide for them to affect other magnets. So since attraction is a function relative to distance and not a collision, a magnet could be here and still exert repulsive force on a magnet here. So that it has nothing to do with collision. And almost always the repulsive force is strong enough that collisions never occur. But anyway, that's the basic idea behind it, is multiple parts moving at a time. And so I focused, as I mentioned, more on the visible effect. And the visible effect of this is two things. Firstly, during the movement of the cradle, it's not as clean, as in one pendulum arm swings down and then multiple start moving. And then you see this kind of disorderly shamble. It's probably quantifiable, but honestly, it just looks like absolute chaos to the naked eye. And so you have like this part moving, and then these two parts moving, and then shivering, and then moving back, and I don't even know what's going on in the middle part. But the interesting thing is, at the end part, it makes this Flappy Bird motion where, actually I should do it like this, right? Where the middle pendulum, so these two fingers, they are relatively still, but these end parts, they kind of move together like this. So in a Newton's cradle, that's similar to in a Newton's cradle where you have, instead of one pendulum initially, if you start with two pendulums and then let them go, they swing down, hit each other, and with their momentum swing up like this, that in a traditional Newton's cradle, with the middle pieces staying fixed. But in this magnetic cradle, the interesting phenomenon that I define is even when you start with one arm, it will end with two, making this Flappy Bird motion. That's what I defined it as, because I just like the term Flappy Bird. But yeah, so that's the interesting phenomenon when we're doing it with one pendulum arm swinging down. I still have to try other starting setups where we have like two pendulum arms swinging down. Maybe it's like a repulsive start where I try to push these end pendulums together and then I let them go and then they oscillate like this. I don't know, but we'll try some other things. But for now, the interesting thing that I found is for the majority of cases where I started it, the end result is always the Flappy Bird, which is pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool result. You start with one, but then the force gets dispersed over the entire system, and effectively, in the middle part it looks like chaos, but effectively at the end it concludes in a unified characteristic motion. I think that's a great conclusion to reach. So now I just need to do it quantitatively, and yes, I think I'll spend most of tomorrow doing that part, and also perhaps some experiments for number 8. But that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. But I also did, I think this is, the 13th day of doing the workout thing. So tomorrow is the 2-week mark, so that should be pretty interesting. I'm really satisfied with my definition of interesting behavior. Another thing is I also wrote this short college essay about my jacket. It's hanging over there. But it's basically about... So I went to the highway stop today. If you don't know what the highway stop means for us, it's just basically a convenience store of sorts. Since there's really no convenience stores around, there's only a highway stop, we basically use it as a convenience store. A highway stop is basically the equivalent to a highway gas station. I don't know if you guys have those, but in Korea, there are highway stops which have gas stations, convenience stores, restaurants, the works. Anyway, I went there today for my lunch, and on the way there, since the wind was blowing, I walked backwards. And then I wondered, why do people walk backwards, right? Or why do people walk forwards? And I normally don't really think about this too much, or these random things too much, but today I got wondering, like, if there's someone who created us, why do we walk forward? Why can't we just walk facing backwards? And biologically and physically, the answer's simple. We can't walk backwards because then we wouldn't know where we're going, right? But philosophically, at least from my deep thinking perspective, I just think it's because to help us forget about the past. If we were scarred or if we had bad memories, if we made mistakes, looking forward always reminds us to move on, to go ahead, right? Don't dwell on what's past. What's important is the future. But then, the wind was hitting me in the face all the time, and there's this vast road ahead of me, vast countryside. So I turned around and I started walking backwards, and that got me thinking, why? And my idea was pretty simple, but we walk backwards when we're too afraid or tired or hurt to face the world, face the vast, scary, daunting world. It's so uncertain, there's so many options, so much freedom that it's terrifying, right? And so that's when we turn around from the wind, from the sunlight, from all the stimulation and all the newness, uncertainty, unfamiliarity, and we face our past, the path that we've taken so far. So that may be your clubs, your organizations, your businesses, your alma maters, your birthplace, your house, but the path you've taken so far, you see that path. And then I turned back when I was about halfway, and then I could see our school way back in the distance, and it was, somehow it was very touching. It was so far away, yet I could feel, I was surprised that I had walked so far. Do you understand? Like, you don't really realize how great and how impressive the path you've taken is until you turn back and see it for yourself. And seeing my very short journey from the school dormitory to this halfway point, it kind of gave me this touching feeling of courage. Now, I'm not saying I needed courage. I needed courage to go another halfway to the highway stop. I would have done that no matter what. But in life, too, when we're tired, when we're burnt out, when we're unhappy, unsatisfied, and sad, lonely, and, all those negative derogatory emotions, when we have those, and we look back on our path, the path we've taken, our journey, gives us the strength and the courage and really the grit we need, the confidence we need to go forward, to move on, to face the vast, uncertain world again, right? And also looking back at my, plank. By the way, I need to mention, I was able to plank for 4 minutes today. That's a new record for me. 4 minutes and 1 second, exactly. But yeah, that was amazing. But that too, the last 30 seconds of the plank was just me thinking that I can do this because I planked 3 minutes 5 days ago. I've done this before, and so I can do more. I can go above and beyond now because I've done it before, and that gives me the courage and the confidence I need to go forward, right? And so that reminded me of what I was wearing, which was my canvas jacket with all the patches, all my alma maters, my clubs, my businesses, my Conrad Challenge, all the stuff I liked, Jinx from League of Legends, and David Martinez's Edgerunner logo, Roddy the Witch from Elden Ring, the works. And realizing that's the path I've taken, the Banneret Project, wearing that jacket gives me incredible mental strength to do whatever I want, to be confident with my decisions, with the path that I'm walking right now, with my future. Because the world ahead is vast, it's so wide, there's so much to do that you might feel like you're doing everything wrong because there's a million directions you could go, right? And every path you take is the leading options, right? And if you're not careful about how you think about it, you might consider that you're always making mistakes, you're never making the right choice. But in reality, there is no right choice, right? There's just choices that feel like they're right or feel like they're wrong, but those are just feelings. And what determines that feeling? You. Your confidence in yourself, to trust in the decisions that you've made. And that confidence comes from looking back on your past. Trust in yourself comes from your past. The past path that you've taken gives you the strength you need to mold and sculpt the future of your choosing. So that's really the revelation that I had today while I was walking to the highway stop. And I think I'll probably write a much longer and much more sophisticated essay about it. I quite like the essay that I have right now, but I think this is a topic that I really want to delve into a lot more because it encompasses a lot of my personal philosophy as a student and as a person, really. And just realizing that reminded me of so many memories in the past, because my family loves to go on these very difficult and arduous vacations where we don't really just sit in a hotel room and watch drama. That would have been lovely, no, but our family tradition of vacations is going to a 25-kilometer trek in our national parks, going to Mount Tongariro when we visit New Zealand, going to the Milford Trail, Milford Sound, walking the Santiago de Compostela in Spain instead of spending, a couple days just eating pork chop. You get the idea. We never stay in one place. We take the next step. And whenever we decide to do something new, like last time we decided to go to Mount Yuri-san in winter to see the sunrise of the new year. When we decide to do something like that we've never done before, our past journeys give us strength for our next destination. It's just like what Brandon Sanderson says: journey before destination, life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. Yeah, so that was a very interesting revelation. And last year when I was walking Mount Jiri, the last day was when we saw the sunrise. I woke up at like 4 a.m. that day. And as I'm climbing the last peak, I look back and I see this incredible view. Just mountain ranges to the horizon. Just packed with snow and nothing but barren trees. With the sun, giving that shy glow up in the distance. It hasn't risen yet, right? Because I'm still on the horizon. I'm not horizon, but I'm still on my way up. The sun won't rise until another 30 minutes later, but its shy glow is peeking out, and so it's kind of lighting the whole place up, and I can see mountain ranges as far as I can see. It's all white mountains. And I can see the place that I've started from because there's a military camp there, and there's no clouds this day. It's clean. The horizon is clean, and I can see where I've come from, 25.6 kilometers away. And that gives me the strength that I need to take another step, another 400 meters. It's steep like this, okay? You're not getting up there unless there are staircases, and those staircases are steep. But I look back and I see all those mountains, and I see the path that I've taken, and all the footsteps that have led up to that climb. And it gives me the strength I need to climb another 400 meters of that grueling, calf-tearing staircase. And I finally see the sunrise of 2025. Yeah, it's beautiful. Anyway, okay, I got a bit emotional there. But yeah, just that kind of encompasses the way I operate and really, my life in a lot of different aspects. So yeah. I'm glad I'm not filming this in the bathroom because you guys can't see my face right now. But yeah, I'm very glad about doing Project Banneret. I'm glad about a lot of things that I've done because it gives me strength even in winter, even when there's no flowers blooming, and even when there aren't my best friends around, even when I'm stuck staring at a laptop. My path gives me strength. My journey gives me strength to endure. And that's, in a way, more beautiful than the best colleges, the best person I've ever seen, and the best cars, airplanes, and motorcycles I wanted to buy. There's a strange beauty to that fact. Anyway, that's about it. Yeah, that's about everything that I wanted to mention. By the way, I saw the GLPS seniors doing like a throwback party in the Dasan lobby. They were like singing and dancing, and yeah, I mean they were obviously drinking a ton, but I didn't participate, so I wouldn't know. But I mean, it seemed like they had a good time. So I mean, and then that made me feel relatively at a loss. But as I was coming up to my dormitory, I saw the sky, and there was no moon today, and it was beautiful. Do you guys know that Rolls-Royce add-on feature where if you pick a really expensive car and then add another really expensive motion, or not motion, but option, they add like these speckled LEDs into your like overhead view. I think that's what they call it. And it's like some starlight something. Yeah, it felt like that. The stars were so bright and so many of them were in view that it just felt like I had like a dome over my head with LEDs specked in. But that was beautiful, and that also gave me a lot of solace, you know. I may not be having the party, I may not be listening to the crowd sing, but at least I have the stars shining for me. There's this line from the manga that I really like. It's called The Boxer. The manga is called The Boxer. If you haven't read that, I know there's a translation in English, so go read it. But there's this line that, you know, the main character and the main character's mentor says, do you know why all... No. Okay, the dialogue goes like this. Let me tell you an important fact. Do you know why the stars... No. Actually, I don't know the dialogue in English. That's why I'm trying to impromptu translate it, but it's not going so well, as you can see. But it goes something like, do you want to know an important secret? All those stars in the sky, they're actually shining for you. That's the secret. Anyway, it goes something like this. Go read it yourself, but it's a beautiful line, and somehow it reminded me, or somehow the sky today and the stars reminded me of that line, and I feel very touched today and emotionally. So it was a great day. I may not have gotten a lot done, you know. I may not have even touched my PPT, but I don't care. It was a good day. It was a great day. One of the best days. And so I'm okay with that. Anyway, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. This has been a very long video reflection, and it's now approaching 3, so I better get sleeping. See you later, or see you tomorrow.